Good afternoon and welcome to this week's edition of CollaborEAT Live, a production of My Collaborative Team. My Collaborative Team is a not-for-profit corporation whose mission is to provide meaningful, dynamic, powerful, and thought-provoking resources to collaborative practice groups and practitioners worldwide, seeking to transform the process by which people resolve disputes. CollaborEAT Live provides digestible content to both professionals and the public on a variety of topics relating to the collaborative process. Episodes consist of a variety of topics driven by our followers and our members. Today, we welcome Joryn Jenkins, who is here to talk about special situations in the collaborative process. Joryn has practiced family law for nearly 41 years. In 1994, she founded Open Palm Law. She's the only practicing lawyer in Florida to have been awarded the prestigious A. Sherman Christensen Award, presented to her in the United States Supreme Court. Her focus in recent years has become how to utilize the collaborative process to change the way the world gets divorced. Joryn is the current vice president of the Florida Academy of Collaborative Professionals. Joryn, welcome.
Thanks, Ed.
So, Joryn, tell me, how do we help our clients go about sharing vulnerable secrets, sharing these special problems?
So it's funny because early on I was blessed, and I truly think of this that way, to have some special situations crop up during my collaborative cases. And sometimes they were a surprise. Most of the time they were a surprise early on. And the team was surprised by what happened and the good and the bad and what we needed to clean up afterwards. So the three situations that I'm thinking of specifically are an apology, a secret, and a ceremony. And the first two are a little different than the last one. So an apology, I had a case where there have been several along the way, but the early one was a guy who had emptied the bank account and scared the heck out of his wife. And he was just trying to get her to go see a lawyer. They'd been separated for a year. She wouldn't go. Nothing he did would help. Nothing I did got her to come see me or to see someone else. I gave her names, suggestions. She just was ignoring everybody. And then he emptied the bank account. And that got her off her tushy. But we spent the first hour of the first meeting, the first full team meeting, the first hour, with her crying. She just cried the entire time. And my client and I stepped out of the room because he was getting angrier and angrier because she was crying and she was trying to take advantage. And, that was his sense of it. And I pulled him out of the room and I said, okay, here's what you do. Now, at that time, I hadn't done my research on how to properly apologize, but it actually went fairly well. And as soon as he apologized, I mean, it was shocking to me, and it obviously made me sit up and pay attention. She stopped crying. I mean, it was like turning off the spigot. And all of a sudden, she was working with us, and she was open to hearing what we had to say. And we actually got that divorce done fairly quickly. And by the way, she had some issues, clearly. But because he had apologized and he meant it, and she felt that, it went well, strangely. I mean, I don't know how to put it.
One of my most satisfying cases ended with an apology.
There you go.
By the husband to the wife, and it was amazing to watch.
Well, this one started with an apology, and I'm going to show you the poster that I created, which is Elements of an Apology. And you'll see, if you look through the steps, that they make a lot of sense. I did a lot of research to find out what we might have done wrong, what we might have done right. And the steps just, they make sense. Don't ruin an apology with an excuse. So often we say, well, I'm sorry, but you did this. No, that's not helpful. Apologize sooner, don't let it fester. Avoid making too grand a gesture or one that is just not good enough. In my case, all he'd done was he'd taken $20,000 out of the bank. Although it was shocking to her, it was not, he hadn't committed, I was going to say Harry Carey, but that wouldn't work as a simile here. He hadn't committed murder or, so he basically just leaned on the back of his chair and he looked her in the face across the table and he addressed her. Everyone else in the room went away as far as the two of them were concerned. And he said, I am so sorry. I didn't mean to scare you. I didn't realize the impact it would have on you. I am so sorry. I will never do that again. And that was what he needed to do. So you focus on the impact, not on what you intend, but on how it's going to hit the person you're apologizing to. You're showing remorse and empathy to that person. It's not what you feel, it's what they feel. And then you state what you plan to do. So he did. He said, I'll never do that again. I'm going to put the money back. And you request forgiveness. You don't demand it. So there are clearly steps that will, and you don't have to do them all, but the more you do, the more likely your apology will be accepted. Now, the interesting thing about this is, and a lot of people have asked me why I create a poster. It's a funny thing. My posters are suggestions. As it turns out, I had no idea, but when you see people sitting in the conference room and your client is really intently examining the apology poster, it might make sense to say, is there something that you need to tell me? Is there something we need to tell him? Or, and so what I have found is that I'm provoking apologies where they make sense. I'm having people say, well, maybe, what do you think? And they'll tell me what happened and I'll give my opinion. I'm a person, I'm a human being. And then they may take my advice or not. Now, the same thing I've seen happen with secrets. Secrets are very hard to share, especially if you held them inside for a long, long time. I had a case, one of my first couple of cases, again, where the guy had not told his wife something for 5 years. And it involved a criminal, he'd been charged criminally, felony, actually 26 of them, because every time he accepted unemployment compensation every 2 weeks, it was a new felony. Really, what you might think is minor in the long run, as an ex-prosecutor, I assure you that I thought it was minor, but it wasn't minor to the federal prosecutor who came after him. And he ended up paying a lot for the lawyer, paying a lot of retribution. He paid back the money, but he spent a year in his apartment and couldn't leave. And she didn't understand. He was living separately from her by this time. They had separated, they were living apart, but she would have to bring the kids to him, and he never shared why. He couldn't walk out the door because he was wearing a bracelet. Unless he was at work, he was wearing a bracelet. And eventually for a different reason, she sued him for divorce. And in our first meeting, I don't know how this happens to me. It's all about me. His lawyer says to him, so do you have something you want to tell your wife? This was right after the goals and interests. And by the way, these folks were amazing. Their primary goal was to get their kids through college. That was their goal. Both of them. It was heartrending. No one in their families, either family, had ever been to college. And yet this guy had, been charged with 26 federal felonies. Oh, and his other stated goal was that his kids understand how important it was that they were a citizen of the United States and that they could vote and that they had this power afforded to them by the US government. Now, this is a guy who I did not know in that moment had been charged with 26 felonies. But he was a powerful citizen and he wanted his kids to also value that citizenship. That's when his lawyer said to him, so do you have a secret that you want to share? And he shared this secret, and the wife's reaction was very angry. She was so angry. And I pulled her out of the meeting. The facilitator kind of made a sign to me and I said, can we break for a second? And we went aside and I said, so what's going on? She said, he was my best friend and he couldn't tell me. He should have been able to tell me. I feel offended that he didn't trust me to tell me his secret. So, don't keep the secret inside for too long is, one of the things that you got to remember to do. But what I said to her in the moment was, because it hit me that this was true, don't you think that he valued your respect and his kids' respect too much to share that secret without the support of the team? Don't you think the team helped him be strong and brave, and to hope that you would understand and still respect him? And she got it right away. It was, I didn't see that right away. So I've just put together some suggestions about best ways to share a secret that you've kept inside for a long time. And again, I've had folks come up to me after a conference room meeting and say, okay, I need to talk to you about something, about how I might tell my wife that I did this or that, my husband,
I think
whatever it was.
right. I think the key to these posters, Jordan, and we'll talk about ceremonies in just a moment, but I think the keys to these posters is that they're up and around and people see it. It kind of triggers them. It makes them feel more comfortable to know that, oh, we can talk about secrets, or we can talk about things that bother us, and it almost empowers them.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about ceremonies.
Well, again, this is one of those things that you're telling the room, whoever sees this poster, that this is not unusual. It's not odd. It's not weird that people do this. And the ceremonies poster is really all about recognizing the value of the marriage. I'm divorcing you. I want to move on with my life. I want to move into a new phase, but that doesn't mean that I didn't value the 10 years we spent together, the 20 years it doesn't mean that I never loved you. It means that I'm ready to do something different now. It doesn't mean that I don't love our kids. You gave me these kids. And so these ceremonies take all kinds of forms. The ceremonies are really put together by the person who wants to do it. I've had folks who, and I wrote about this I wrote about all three of these situations in my very first book. A woman came to the divorce signing, because we sign that paperwork when we have the opportunity all together. We recognize it and we celebrate the value of the time they've spent together going through this process. And she rolled out a center tablecloth, a table runner. And apparently, I can't remember the exact details. You can find it in War or Peace, but he had gifted her that tablecloth, or it was a wedding gift to them. She got out 2 candlesticks, again, a wedding gift from one to the other or from someone to them. She lit the candles and she reached across the table and asked him for his hands, and she held his hands. And again, the 4 collaborative team members were there. We were an audience. And by the way, we have audiences for a reason. Audiences at weddings, audiences at funerals, audience at auspicious life events, to recognize the value of that life event. So why are we getting divorced in the privacy of our home on Zoom? I mean, and people started having divorce parties, but the more commonly known divorce party is really to mock the other person. And that's not what we're talking about here at all. What we're talking about here is valuing the contribution that the spouse made in your life and letting him or her know that you know that value and that you would not erase it. And so that's what this poster basically tells my clients and gives them ideas for what they might want to talk about in that ceremony that they're going to create.
Joryn, your posters are tremendous. They really tell a story in and of themselves. How do people get your posters?
So they can find them at jorynjenkins.com. I think it's jorynjenkins.com/posters. I've got 22 collaborative posters there. I think that doesn't include the collaborative life planning posters, but it does include these 3. Collaborative life planning is a separate topic. But 22, and there are posters actually, especially for the financials, posters especially for the mental health. There are, we've got them organized. So there are the posters that are about the special events. There are the posters that are about how to control your feelings, about communication styles, all those things that come up during the collaborative process. And so whatever you as a collaborative professional value, you can find that poster there.
Great.
If you can't, let me know, because I'm always open to new possibilities.
Great. Joryn, thank you very much for your time. This has been so informative. We want to invite anybody who has a topic they'd like to talk about to contact us at info@mycollaborativeteam.com and check out our website. Again, mycollaborativeteam.com. Joryn, thank you very much for your time.
My pleasure.